When the sun sinks behind the rugged horizon of southern Arizona, a transformation begins across the desert landscape. The heat retreats, the wind softens, and the sky dims into a canvas of deep purples and blues as the wilderness holds its breath. Night in the borderlands is not just a time of darkness but a stage for ancient movement. In that thickening silence, an elusive shadow stirs. From the dense folds of mesquite and juniper, a shape emerges with stealth in every step. It glides low to the ground, patterned with rosettes that blur against rock and earth. Powerful shoulders roll silently as it crosses arroyos and climbs rocky ridges. This is not a figment of imagination, nor a myth from desert folklore. It is real. It is alive. It is the jaguar. Caught only by carefully placed motion-triggered cameras and the rarest of human sightings, this apex predator makes its way north from Mexico into the United States under the cover of night. Its path is ancient. Its purpose remains unknown. It is not here for spectacle. It is here because it always was. Long before highways split the desert and before border fences scarred the land, jaguars roamed freely across what is now the American Southwest. Their domain stretched from the dense jungles of Central America to the arid cliffs of Arizona and New Mexico. They hunted mule deer in the Sonoran plains, ambushed javelinas in oak-studded hills, and drank from the same desert springs that still pulse with life today. But over time, expansion erased their presence. The 20th century brought ranching, roads, and rifles. One by one, jaguars were killed off in the United States. By the mid-1900s, they had vanished completely from the American landscape. The last confirmed female north of the border was shot in 1963. After that, there was silence. For decades, the idea of a jaguar in the US became a memory preserved only in old photos, fossils, and native stories. But nature has its own memory, and sometimes it remembers what was lost. In 1996, a hunter checking his camera traps in the Pelanchillo Mountains of southeastern Arizona found something astonishing. A jaguar, not a ghost, not a rumor. A living, breathing, wide-roaming male cat. He was photographed again, then another. Lone males began appearing, drawn north from Mexico's Sierra Madre. They came quietly. Slipping through the border fence, following ancestral corridors, they stepped into the land their kind had not walked in generations. Then in 2011, a game camera captured the first clear image of a new cat. Broad-shouldered, muscular, unmistakable. A jaguar patrolling the Santa Rita Mountains. Locals began calling him El Jefe, the boss. He stayed for nearly 3 years, leaving tracks in the snow, claw marks on trees, and stories in the hearts of those who followed him. Footage of El Jefe pacing across a dry creek bed beneath the Arizona sun sent ripples through the wildlife world. His return wasn't just rare, it was revolutionary. Since then, others have appeared. Sombra, Macho B, ghost-like cats whose names come from a few frames of footage or a single paw print pressed into the sand. These are not regular visitors. They are scouts, pathfinders, explorers testing whether the land can still hold their kind. The jaguar is not a creature that seeks attention. It moves with purpose. Every step is measured, each moment cloaked in silence. In night vision footage, its body becomes part of the shadows. It sniffs the air, pauses, then disappears into the dark as if it was never there. The images are grainy, sometimes only a swish of a tail or a flicker of a shoulder. But to biologists and conservationists, each frame is priceless. They mark not just survival but a possibility, a future that brings this ancient predator back to its northern edge. Jaguars thrive in rugged, remote places with thick cover and water sources. Arizona's Sky Islands offer just that. These isolated mountain ranges, like floating worlds rising from the desert floor, create mini ecosystems rich in prey and refuge. A single male can roam over 500 square miles, and these mountains provide corridors of safety between fragmented lands. Still, the road ahead is uncertain. Male jaguars can travel far, but without females they cannot establish breeding populations. No female jaguar has been documented in the United States in over half a century. Some experts argue that reintroducing females from Mexico could revive the species in the region. Others urge patience, saying nature must decide. The debate is scientific, political, and deeply cultural, because this land is not just federal and state-owned. It is sacred to many indigenous communities. To the Tohono O'odham and other tribes of the Southwest, the jaguar is a spiritual figure, a symbol of strength, balance, and harmony. Its return is not simply an ecological event, it is a healing. But border politics complicate the path. Construction of new border barriers has disrupted vital wildlife corridors that link Mexican jaguar habitats to potential range in the US. Fences that block people also block animals. These barriers do not understand migration patterns. They do not recognize ecological continuity. And for a species that requires hundreds of square miles to survive, a few feet of steel can sever an entire future. Still, jaguars keep coming. Each year, hidden cameras pick up new arrivals. Some stay days, others linger for months. Each one adds a new layer to a story still being written. Scientists track their movements using remote cameras, scat analysis, and GPS collars where possible. But the cats remain largely out of reach. They are more rumor than reality, more mystery than mammal, and perhaps that is their power. The jaguar reminds us that even in a time of concrete and control, there are still things that move without permission. That nature in all its raw intelligence can surprise us. That something wild and ancient still prowls the edges of modern America. So as dusk settles again over Arizona and the wind picks up across the canyon floor, a camera waits. It is silent, patient, watching the trail where the trees bend slightly, where old prints once marked a passing. Perhaps tonight the lens will catch a flicker of movement, a glint of eyes in infrared, the silent step of the continent's most elusive cat. And when it does, we will remember what was lost and what might return. Because in the shadows of the desert, where jaguars move like myths reborn, the story of the wild still lives.